Welcome to the Soul Mirror. I'm your host Shreya, where we peel back the layers of human experience to reveal the luminous self beneath. Today we are joined by the radiant Brigida Whistle, a soul empowerment coach, spiritual messenger, and light conduit. Brigida helps people realign with their higher essence and remember who they truly are beyond fear, illusion, and human conditioning. This episode invites you to discover and rediscover your divine reflection within. So, welcome, Brigida. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me, Shreya. And happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali to you, our listeners, too, and thank you for your kind words. And then, Brigida, what does it truly mean to awaken the soul in a world that feels increasingly distracted and disconnected?
Wow, to awaken our souls. Isn't it funny how, we are so distracted, right? And that's precisely the intent. I mean, if you look at our world, it's very technocratic, right? People are very absorbed in their phones, their laptops, anything electronic, correct?
Yeah.
And so it's very much a deviation away from our awareness. And it's really such a shame because people often ask me, hey, what does it mean to live authentically? And it just means to be living according to the rhythm of your own heart and soul. Yeah, it's not through the opinions of others. It's simply living your own truth. And that is really important. But to awaken, it's really about looking at ourselves in the mirror and looking at our own reflection. And we do that because what if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin? What if you have a victim mentality? What if you keep pointing the fingers at others? Whatever's going on in your life, it's so important to take responsibility for your life, and heal the broken aspects within. And when you become aware and you heal, that is when you start to awaken. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's so true. And I think you say that's a beautiful thing that awakening is less about escaping chaos and more about finding stillness within. And you just say that so beautifully.
Yes, absolutely. That's perfect how you sum that up.
And is awakening a sudden realization or a gradual unfolding over time?
Oh, do you know, Shreya, for everyone it's different. Yeah, some people have like a Kundalini awakening and boom, bam, it's like this big aha and they're completely awakened. For me, it's been a gradual process, which has been really beautiful. And for me, it's been a very healing journey as well. And I look back at my life, and regardless of all the trauma that I've been through, I look at everything with a heart of gratitude. And I think that is really important. It doesn't matter what you've been through. All the characters in my life, whether they were goodies or baddies, I have nothing but love and gratitude for them in my heart. Because if I wouldn't have that, I'd probably still be very insecure, riddled with anxiety. You could put me in a straitjacket.
Good. And that's so profound. And also, you often speak of channeling higher light beings.
Yeah.
So, how did that connection first reveal itself to you?
Oh, the channeling part was back in 2016. And I went through a very traumatic event with an ex of mine. I lived in Florida. And, first of all, any kind of relationship we go through, it's really about reflections, right? We are reflections of one another. We are teachers of one another. I always say that. And then it's when you look at life from a different perspective. But I was very much in that fight or flight mode, but I was still looking at how to heal myself because I knew I couldn't go on like that anymore. Oh my God, I'd lost so much weight because it was my superpower, Shreya. I could literally, I just wouldn't eat. And because that was something I could control, and the same for working like a maniac. Yeah, because that was just me. And so, but it was really like I knew I needed to heal because I was so far down the tube. You could say I was depressed. And it was like, I was teaching workshops, because I was teaching Reiki and other holistic workshops. And it was really about heal thyself, right? And so I went to this, my mentor, Alania Starhall in Florida, where I was living in St. Petersburg. And she had these classes about channeling. And so I decided to go to one of these workshops. And I went there, and it was a full class, honestly. And I thought, I'm a little bit antisocial. So I sat in a corner by myself on a pillow. And she did this beautiful meditation with sound bowls and light language. And she counted to 3, and I was gone. I don't know where I went. I don't even know how long I was out. But when she counted back from 3, 2, 1, I came back in the room. And then all these people had on these beautiful messages, or they saw the ascended masters, the angels, the guides, their spirit animals, and I saw nothing, absolutely nothing. I was so upset. And so she had this beautiful exercise, and she said, how she did it was down, and she had a pad and a pen, and she just said to the universe, I'm open and ready to receive. And so when the class was finished, I shut out, went home, and that is exactly what I did. But I think because I'd been through hell and back because of my ex, I wasn't even thinking. It just flowed. It was old English prose. And then I started asking questions. And that's how my channeling journey started.
That's really so fascinating. And thank you for sharing your story with us and with an audience. And was it something you resisted at first, or it feel like coming home?
So because it came out in old English prose to start with, and that's not me. And there were some of the words I'm like, I don't know what that means. So that was really, really interesting. But it's just, so I knew I was channeling properly. And I think when you start out, you have your doubts. But I think my mind was so far shot to hell that I didn't even think, because I was ready for that change. And it's been an amazing journey ever since.
That's really interesting. And also how surrender often open doors that logic alone never can.
Correct. It's all about surrender. That's powerful. Yes. Yeah.
True. And also for those who are struggling with pain or emotional heaviness, how can they begin to see their wounds as portals for growth?
It's all about looking at ourselves, right? And taking responsibility for our lives. I think that is the key ingredient. We can always keep pointing fingers, but it's really taking a raw and honest look at ourselves and see how we can make the changes within ourselves, because everything starts from within.
And it's so true. And I think every wound hides a doorway. The healing happens from that. Right. Do you believe healing always requires revisiting the past, or can it happen purely through presence?
Purely for presence. Yes, well, it's good to revisit the past only to heal. And it's something that I learned was the emotional freedom technique, where you tap the emotions out of your system so that you can talk about whatever happened to you, whatever caused you pain, without being triggered. Yeah, but you're right. So it's important to revisit that and to heal that. And you're talking about presence, and that is really about being present within ourselves and being present in the moment. Yeah, only when we are in the present can we commence to heal ourselves. Yeah. And even if that means revisiting our past so that we can move forward.
Yes, I love that. And aiming at remembering wholeness rather than fixing brokenness, it's really, really great. And how do you balance your spiritual depth with the practical realities of human life, career, relationship, responsibility?
Yeah, especially the corporate, because I often work over 50 hours a week. I mean, this year alone, I will have worked 15 months nearly in the space of a year. And of course, I have my spiritual work. I write articles. I'm writing my third solo book. So it's a lot. And then I'm studying Spanish and Akashic record healing, which is past lives, and being able to help people move forward. But it's not always easy. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not always easy, but I meditate. So I meditate in the morning and in the evening, and I do practice my light language, which is frequency. It's what we call the cosmic language of love. But meditation really, really helps me. Now, some people may think, yeah, but meditation, I don't really have time for it. Well, if you listen for 20 minutes in the morning, yeah, and 20 minutes at night, honestly, you will sleep a lot better. And when you get up, you will feel a lot better too. And so people that just start out with meditation, I mean, there's some great YouTube personalities like Joe Dispenza. I love Joe Dispenza because he talks about creating, manifesting in the quantum field of consciousness, which is all about, it's creating from the heart and really feeling that you already have it. And we forget that we should be living from our hearts and not our minds. But it's really important that our mind and heart are in coherence, that they're aligned. And that is often not the case. The other one that's really good is David G. So David and then J.I. And he deals a lot with like anxiety, fear, also manifestation. And he has these beautiful Indian mantras. So he's really good too. So I love listening to both of them.
That's such an honest reflection. And do you ever soul carries divine wisdom, and why do so many people of us still seek it outside themselves?
Because that's what we have been taught, right? Everything is outside of ourselves, whereas the greatest guru resides within. But we don't know that because we get bombarded with everything from the outer, and we have to be a certain way, we have to live a certain way, we have to act a certain way, and that's not true. And it's really all about embracing our wholeness, which is, and just going back to your former question, right, about spiritual detachment, because I do know what that means, but it's really learning to let go of the material and and the ego-driven desire, so to speak. And so when we let that all go, because it's not about the material, right? Life is a return to love for ourselves and each other. And we could accomplish so much more when we stop chasing the material, right? And when we let go of the ego and clash with other people and we judge. And so it's all about creating that inner peace and having that deeper spiritual connection, because when we do that, life will start to flow. And I think that is important. Yeah, we grow and we flow.
Yes. And for that last question, what I asked you, that do you think we sometimes mistake our spiritual detachment for peace? Like, for example, for instance, someone might withdraw from relationships or avoid emotional challenges, thinking that they're staying peaceful when in reality they are just numbing or protecting themselves for discomfort. So, is it about staying open centered or even in the middle of it?
Well, would you rather stay in the comfort of the discomfort?
Yes.
Or would you really rather release would you really rather release that discomfort? Because you know what the problem is? We are so used to living a certain way that we live with that pain, that we live with that trauma. But it honestly is all about being mindful rather than having our mind full. And many, and I know this, many of us put pressure on ourselves, but how about releasing any attachments to outcomes? And like I said, just letting go of the material and learning to set boundaries and focus on self-care and healing, which is really important as well. Yeah. I always say when you start to heal, as I just said, when you start to heal, your energy changes. So you will vibe out a different frequency. And when you vibe out a different frequency, things will start to change because we're energy. So what we vibe out is actually what we reel back in.
So true. And I think that's such a meaningful distinction, and it just answers so beautifully. And it reminds us that peace is not passive, it's an active engagement with life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's something that I read and that really resonated with me. And that is the fact, don't forget our nervous system, right? But our nervous system is actually addicted to our past selves. And that's why a lot of people remain as they are because they're too afraid to change because, oh dear, what's on the other side of that fence? And it's not just that, but many people grapple with the fact that, well, these are two of life's most difficult challenges, and that is change and letting go. But let's face it, Shreya, even a tree, right? Or nature, nature changes through the seasons and season after season, and it just goes with the flow. It doesn't matter. But what do? Oh, no. We hold on to everything. We cling on to everything, afraid to let everything go. We're like, Abu from the kleptomaniac monkey from Aladdin. And, he holds on to these trinkets. But what happens when we let go of these old wounds and all this trauma? Yeah, what could happen?
That's really so beautifully said. And this is really a wonderful conversation with you. And I'm so lucky to have you in my show. And if after this, my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
So my website is powersoulhealing.com, but I am also on Instagram under Universal Light Warriors. And I have a YouTube channel, which is Power Soul Healing. And then I'm on Facebook under my own name, Brigitte Wissen. But it's all on my website.
Yes, and I will definitely make sure to attach all these pictures and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you. And to all my listeners, what a luminous exchange with Brigitte Wissen, reminding us that every challenge, every doubt is an invitation to rise higher in love and awareness. If today's episode touched your heart, take a moment to simply be still and listen inward. The mirror of you and your soul is always reflecting truth, and you only need the courage to look. Thank you.